You don't have your basket. Hold it up.
We've got, what?
You don't have your basket.
Thought that was your job.
My job. I will help out in this aspect of it.
You know, if you watch those other boards, they got a guy that handles all this stuff, you know.
An indentured servant of some sort?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got 4 decisions tonight. We have anybody here for those decisions? Well, I mean, on the affirmative side.
Here's one copy.
Just a warning, there's only 3 of us. So if you're here for one of those decisions, you've got to get all 3 votes. Now, if there's anybody here for those decisions and you'd rather have us hold it over till next month, when there's more of us, now's your chance to speak. I guess there isn't anybody here for those decisions. So we'll start with 2795, which is Matthew Stopnick, 40 North Main Street.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
2796, Jasper Rose LLC, 60 Halsey Street.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2801, number 7 James Street LLC.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Last, 2803 Neil Jaffe, number 50 David White's Lane.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have 2 cases that are pending before the planning board, 2746 and 2799, so we don't need to do anything about those. Is that right, Rick? We don't have to do any motion on those or anything?
Nope.
On the pending cases, 2805 Ken Fox, 472 First Neck Lane.
Can I have a copy?
That's the Neil Jaffe one, right? Yeah. Oops, yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody here for Ken Fox, 472 First Neck Lane? That's the one that had the pool house fire yesterday. Maybe that's why they're not here. But they weren't here last week either. I mean, last month. Last month they sent us a letter.
Last month, they sent you a letter asking for an adjournment.
This month they sent smoke signals.
I don't know if they sent anything to the village office that we didn't get in our packets. I don't know.
I don't see anything in the package, and we don't have anything new tonight.
I guess we should adjourn it one more time.
Okay.
I move we adjourn for all purposes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that brings us down to the last and final case of the evening, 2807 Real Estate Organization, Belgium LLC. We have a complaint from one of the board members about the spelling of organization.
It's a,
that the
it's
European
a Belgian,
spelling?
Yeah, I guess that's a European
It's an
spelling.
English thing.
I mean, you know,
We broke away from England back
when
when.
in Rome, do as the Romans do, you know?
I don't know. What can I tell you? It's like, what do they say to it? It's like, what else do the Brits do? It's not orangutan.
Well, they
it's
put the E's at the
orangutan
end,
and stuff
they
like
put
that.
the E's at the end and the L's before it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Richard. You're from Wales. Sorry. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's gonna be going back there after tonight's meeting, I think.
Those Yanks were so rude to me. Anyway, for the applicant, John Bennett, and with me this evening is Richard Herbert, who is a landscape architect, as well as Andrew Kelly from Aries Design. Both of them have been collaborating on the revegetation program for this, which is the primary part of it's really the whole deal in terms of the application. And Emily Leverly and Richard Warren from InterScience, who've been working on the project with my office. What I'd like to do, just in terms of some housekeeping, is hand out some additional documentation this evening. It's really mostly very minor changes. Well, I'll explain it. It's I have copies for everyone. I have an original and copies for everyone. There are The first thing that I'm handing you is a new survey, and that new survey doesn't, there's no change. As I said in the cover letter, there's no change in the survey whatsoever from what you have in the application, other than the fact that, and I should have caught this before the application went in.
That's yours.
The house design was originally, it is in collaboration with Stell and an architect from Netherlands? No? Yes? Yeah. So they had put multi-unit house on it, which it is not. So that sort of gave it a
It's the
start.
first time that I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I think maybe they were.
I thought it was like an apartment house.
Yeah, so there are pods, but maybe, in any event, so we had Squires Hole and King today, it's proposed two-story single-family residence. That's the only change. Then, most important for the board's consideration, Chick Voorhees was able to give us some comments, and met with Tim Rumpf. And there were just a handful of comments that he had, and what you see is a construction methodology and narrative report, an existing conditions plan, and a demolition and mobilization plan. And the comments that Chick wanted have been incorporated into these new revisions. They're quite minor in terms of, you know, the overall content of these submissions. Chick wanted a description of both the Phragmites and the bamboo that we're going to remove at the property, and a commitment to monitor and maintain the bamboo removal for 10 years, because he told us that it's okay to monitor Phragmites removal for 3 years, but bamboo is very, very insidious and tenacious, I should say. So he wanted us to guarantee and monitor that for 10 years, so we have that in the construction methodology and narrative report revision. Other than that, it's exactly what we submitted to. And there was some mislabeling on the existing conditions and the demolition and mobilization plan. There was a sort of an oxymoronic labeling that said uplands/wetlands vegetation, and Chick correctly pointed out that that should be labeled a transitional zone, and we did that on both of these plans. But again, other than those relatively minor changes, at Chick's request, these are exactly what you have in your packet. I don't want you to think that we're, rudely just throwing a lot of new stuff at you the first time it's on. This is pretty much what is in your packet with the exception of those requests that Chick made. There's a lot of information in the packet. This has been a long time in the planning, but what I'd like to do and what I'd like to suggest to you is this is actually a fairly straightforward application, and one that I think really goes far and beyond what you usually see on an application like this. There's currently a house on the property, and it's lawn all the way up to the wetlands, as you can see. There's some bamboo and some invasive species in here, but essentially you have a house that's totally out of conformity with the wetlands. And what that does is it really narrows down the availability for as-of-right development. However, the location of the wetlands on the property. So here you have this really narrow band. It's maybe 37 feet wide, pinched down to 37 feet wide on a house on First Neck Lane. Good-sized piece of property, but quite a bit of wetlands. You have this pre-existing non-conforming area. If we were to go, and I'd like you to concentrate on this thought, because this is what I think really moves this application significantly. The wetlands line has been flagged, and it's been verified by Chick. Rich flagged the wetlands line, and Chick verified it. If I were to try to crunch all this development into this area here and maintain a 150-foot setback, which we don't want to do, and we think is far too tight and just doesn't work, John Foster would give me a building permit for that and not require any revegetation or any buffer. That's what the building department does. If you go in and you show that you're 150 feet from the wetlands, unlike some other jurisdictions, they give you a building permit and you can keep your lawn. But not for a second do we want to do that, because it just doesn't give us enough space to work with here. So what the proposal is to take down this non-conforming as it relates to wetlands structure, which is about 100 feet or so from the wetlands, and to reconstruct with holding a 125-foot as opposed to a 150-foot setback. But
Note that the 125 is measured actually in this corner. The house in the middle part is almost 140 feet. It's 139.
And in exchange for that, I just want to get to it, we'll talk a little bit more in depth about it, but in exchange for all that, the idea is that a good portion of this 125-foot setback is going to be, revegetated with a very extensive native planting plan. There's a bit of lawn in the front of the house here. There's some lawn over here because this is where the kids' area is proposed to be, so we need some outside area for that. But you'll go from a non-conforming house with no buffer whatsoever, lawn right up to the wetlands, invasive species bamboo right up to the wetlands, with an area of that net is probably 125 feet. Because there are areas that are beyond the 125 feet. And native planting, and what it does is it really, it serves all the purposes that the wetlands law was provided to create this buffer, and what it does to the drainage, and what it does to the preservation of the existing wetlands, increasing and enhancing the habitat, as opposed to going in and building a house back here crunched in. Doesn't make any sense, not within the character of the neighborhood, but maintaining all the lawn. So we're essentially going to the lion's share of all the lawn will disappear right up to the house, and I think that's significant. So I think it more than meets what you would have. It does a far superior job than what we would have as of right if we kept the improvements at 150. And I don't know. I don't want to be blasé or too what's the word? I don't want to be too presumptuous about it. But I think it's really that simple. It's a pretty straightforward application. Take away something old, take away something non-conforming, take away all this lawn, give us some lawn, a little bit here for the children's play area. Mostly you're meeting 125-foot setback, which is far superior in a lot of ways to a lot of things that you've let people do where they've come in and work with an existing non-conforming wetland setback. I guess, I don't know, do we have a planting plan? Do we, just so you can see, I know that's usually sort of a thing that Chick goes over, but of course, the board would like to see that. So you can see this very extensive planting plans, all species that are native and that are either on the town list, the federal list, or the state list. So again, this is pretty much, where would you say the existing wetlands line is?
Wetlands line is right through here.
It's right here.
And there's native plantings coming right up to the edge of the house.
With the exception of this lawn area and this area here. No zoning relief necessary, which I think is really significant too, because I know this board tends to look not only, some people come in and say, you've got to give me all the zoning relief because I'm trying to create, I have wetlands issues. Here, what we've done is we've met with John Foster. All of these proposals meet the zoning requirements. So there's really no need for any zoning relief, which we thought you'd like. Good-sized property, good-sized parcel, not unlike in terms of size, lots in the houses in the area under the FAR, fairly well under it, and about, in terms of coverage, potential coverage, I think we only have about, as I put in the application, we only have about half the coverage.
About 9,000, I think?
Yeah, it's 9,341 square feet, which is well under the allowable coverage, and the GFA is also well under the allowable gross floor area. So it's not, it's not a piggish application. I think it's a lot of work and a lot of very expensive planting here.
And the restoration plan involves more than just the lawn. There's a stand of bamboo in this corner here that's going to be removed, because that's an invasive plant. And also, there's Phragmites back into here that are gonna be removed. So there's a there's plans have been prepared that are in your file, prepared by Arius Design and Richard Herbert, that look at how this whole area is gonna be restored back to native habitat, native wetlands in the back, and then a native transition zone up to the whole native plant.
I was actually pleasantly surprised because I had spoken to Chick about this in all candor. What could you live with in terms of a buffer? And how about 50 feet? He goes, how about 100? I said, well, how about, that's not bad. You're right. How about 75? So I said to Richard, and I said to Tim from Arius Design, let's try to meet a 75-foot buffer. And it was one of those rare calls where you get a call. Maybe we can do even better than that. So, and this is what you see. So.
So the only thing you're asking for is relief from the wetlands.
That's all. And there's no, again, an awful lot of design time and energy and effort went into this, and these structures conform. It was very important that we met with John Foster, who agreed with us that.
They do the work by hand or by machine, or
Say again.
how are they gonna do the work? Hand, machine, or?
Andrew, the methodology.
There's a construction methodology
Yeah.
that's been submitted, prepared by Arius Design, it's been submitted. There will be work done by machine in order to remove the root systems of both the bamboo and the Phragmites. It's fairly extensive. The plan is that it's actually going to be removed. They can't just, cut it down. It's got to be actually
Yeah,
excavated.
it's got to actually, and that was, as a matter of fact, that's one of the things that Chick and Tim and I talked about. You've got to go in there, and particularly the bamboo, you've got to go in there. You just have to dig it out. There's been some talk about Phragmites. If you continually cut it down, maybe that'll have some sort of effect
We've
on.
heard that from Chick, to do it like 3 years in a row or
Well,
something.
we've agreed to 3 years on the Phragmites with 10 on the bamboo. That stuff is pretty darn tenacious. So, but the only way you can go in there, all existing Phragmites and bamboo cut to a workable height so that the root structure can be thoroughly removed. A backhoe will be used to dig out the roots in surrounding soil. The roots will be dug out to a depth that no longer indicates the presence of Phragmites and bamboo roots and rhizomes, verified by the contractor, landscape architect, and all the soil will be trucked off site and disposed because the stuff is in the soil. So the whole idea is to actually get the stuff out of there and replant it.
Does that bamboo cross that property line?
I don't know. It's right around here.
Right in this area.
Yeah, right in that area.
And if so, is there a way to barrier it off or?
There would be an intention to put barriers around the perimeter of this,
Yeah.
so that this way, because you do have Phragmites on the other side and to the north, so they would be putting in a root barrier, a coconut fiber log as well as a root barrier and around the perimeter.
Says a root barrier will be installed along the northern, western, and southern property lines to prevent the spread of Phragmites and bamboo in neighboring properties.
It's already been incorporated in the plans, and that's in the drawings that you have.
There's a sheet installed according to manufacturer's spec, sheet D102, along those. Dugout barrier installed and then backfill to existing grade. And again, Chick's seen all this. His comment on this was essentially, I want a 10-year guarantee for the bamboo because it's just not going to cut it, the 3-year.
So those have been modified to reflect that.
If you look at, the whole reason for the villages, past the wetlands regulations, water retention capability, water flow, significant wetlands habitat, giving the native species a competitive advantage. All of these are more than met with this plan, actually more than you would have as of right with a conforming plan by far. So, I think this is like a model project, if I may. Just a little bit of relief, 25 feet, but look what you get. And obviously, is to the benefit of the applicant. Of course, it is, but I think it's a great public benefit as well. One of the neighboring individuals, I spoke with their lawyer today. The lawyer said that they'd spoken to them about the fact that net, this was a great benefit and seemed to be happy with that. I don't know if there are any other correspondence in the file as it relates to the owner of the property that fronts on First Neck. Again, we're observing all the setbacks as it relates to.
We have something here from Chick, but that's all I see.
About the proposed pool fence, I see it to the west. Does it encompass the pool on the east, or what?
Well, we put the pool fence out in this area, and we'd have to comply with any building department
Okay.
concerns about that, maybe alarming doors or something like that. This was to create the barrier to the west. Obviously, John's not going to issue a building permit unless he's satisfied. I think that's the one thing that building department, to their credit, is absolutely dogged about.
One thing?
Well,
I'm sorry.
that sounded really bad. They're dogged about many things, but the one thing in particular that I find that you can't,
Okay.
they just don't give you any leeway on that. is
Okay.
The pool enclosure. I think that's.
I'm just trying to, can't figure it out.
Yeah,
from
that
the
didn't
drawing.
come out the right way. I'm sorry.
Anything else, John?
No, so we were hoping, if you could, unless you had any questions, if you could close it for decision, but you may have
Do we have anything
questions.
else, Ron?
No.
Jerry?
I don't know.
Rick?
Just two quick things. Number one, do you have Chick's January 22 memo?
All I saw was four, no, I saw four. Might have
That's
been
this one,
yesterday. I
right?
saw,
Yeah, do you guys have an extra copy of that?
I got one copy.
oh, maybe he had some additional comments then.
Well, he,
You want to read this one?
Yeah, that's, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, we took care of all the landscape stuff plan. He had a couple of questions, was just off the top of my head. It's just a question of putting it on the plan. And he notes that, have a roof and drainage plan prepared by Maresca. And there's a pool district. We can, yeah, he says it, assuming there are no questions from the board, the public may consider closing the hearing for purposes, allowing us to coordinate as needed with the applicant to review a revised submission that addresses the above. I think all of these are, the landscape plan stuff, we addressed all of that, and we already have this stuff in the works, so it'd be great if you could, be nice if you could close that.
just one other comment.
Oh, sorry.
Do you want a copy of that?
Can I have this? Is this okay?
That's the one.
That's the only one that's in the file.
Oh,
I need that one back, yeah.
okay.
I have a copy
You
by,
do? Okay, great.
by email from Chick, so there was an extra copy in my packet tonight, which I cross-calculated needed, but
Oh, cool, okay,
you
great.
can have it.
Oh, thanks, Rick. Yeah.
Okay, just one other question. Although it's not mentioned in the application, I see in the public hearing notice that it mentions a hot tub within the westerly front yard.
Oh, you know what?
I don't
Yeah,
know if that's
yeah.
a mistake.
No, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up.
There is so much,
No.
for lack of a better word, there is so
It's very
much
busy. Yeah.
clutter on, I don't mean it in bad
No,
sense, on
no.
the survey that I can't tell.
You know what it is? I'm glad you brought that up. That's the last thing that we forgot about. So, that's embarrassing. We caught that at the last moment.
Hot tub is to
Like
the
this
east of the, it's to the west of the pool.
What we did is we pulled it, that's right, we have this, we'll have the surveyor make the changes too. That hot tub is out in front of the house, right here, as shown, so we pulled it back. behind the line of the,
Now behind the pool, right?
yeah, now we put it, now we put it,
It's no longer in the front.
it's no longer in the front yard.
Okay, that's what I couldn't tell.
No, you're right, yeah.
It was out here.
Do we have a survey that shows
We're
that?
gonna, no,
We're
we'll
gonna
change that.
revise
We'll
that.
change that as
We
well.
found this afternoon.
We found this
Oh,
afternoon,
okay.
so you were right, yeah. And Tim wrote the notice up that way, but, and there was a little bit back and forth with the architect today, which was got a little bit hot and bothered, but I said, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna say, I don't want any zoning relief, and you can move that damn hot tub, excuse me.
Are you saying that where the hot tub shows here is wrong?
Yeah, we're gonna change that, we're just.
Here it's right behind the pool.
Here's some copies of plans that show a new location.
Okay.
Is that in the packet that you handed up?
Just heading up right now. We pulled it back, so it's behind the line of the house.
That's what shows right here.
No, that's the survey. No, because no, it's wrong. Because
It's wrong?
Yeah, if you drew the line of the house from here, it's out above. See, we pulled it back. We shortened this
So you
connector.
put it up closer to the pool.
Much closer. Well, what, like 10 feet or something?
Yeah. Right. So it gets behind that line.
Yeah, and I you know, actually, it was a little bit of a Donnybrook on the phone with one of the architects today. I said, I'm not going to go into this board and ask for any sort of zoning relief when you can make it comply. So we'll show that on the revised
Okay.
survey.
If there's no, still have to ask for public comments. If there's no public comments, I don't see why we can't. We could close it for all purposes, subject to comments from Chick, subject to a revised survey showing the hot tub out of the front yard. But let's see if there's any public comments first.
You can keep that for the file.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll revise the landscape plan as well.
You can show the hot tub in there.
Looks like I have an extra one of this. You want, here, why don't you put it in the file?
I'm going to take this one to remind us.
Is there anyone in the public who'd like to be heard to this application? I guess not.
I move we adjourn this hearing.
Let's close the hearing for all purposes, subject to any comments which our environmental consultant might have, and subject to submission of a revised survey showing the proposed hot tub out of the front yard.
We're going to give you a revised
So
survey.
moved.
We're also going to give you a revised. We're going to revise all the drawings so
Okay.
it's consistent.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks very much, guys.
Okay.
Get home safe and
Okay.
put a fire on.
Right. All right.
That closes this meeting of the Southampton Village Zoning Board of Appeals.